Welcome back to Louisville Now. We're at the Dumesnil house, and we are talking about leaves now. I have Patton Scott, who is an arborist with the Louisville Parks and Recreation Urban Forestry Department. Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So before we went to break last time, we talked about the ginkgo tree that's very well known here. So ginkgo trees are unique where they lose their leaves all at the same time. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
In like 24 hours?
Over about a day or two.
Okay. Well, right now we're in the season when trees are losing their leaves.
Correct.
Why does that happen?
Well, leaf drop is part of a larger process known as leaf senescence. Basically, chlorophyll, the main driver of photosynthesis in the leaf, is very metabolically expensive for the tree to produce. So it's going through a process right now of breaking that chlorophyll down and bringing it back into the tree so that it can store it and use it later in the spring and summer.
Okay. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's why I like that. So is this like, are we in peak tree peeping time to go see when the leaves are changing?
We're not quite at peak just yet. The process has just started. As that chlorophyll recedes into the inner body of the tree, we're going to start to see more yellows, more oranges, more reds. And I anticipate we're going to be at peak fall color towards the end of this month and maybe in the first 2 weeks of November.
Okay. And does the weather factor into that as well, when that is?
The weather can have a really big play on how the colors are, shown and what colors we see, how vibrant they are. If we have a really dry period before the leaves start to fall off and the colors start to change, we can really see much more red colors after things start to get a lot colder.
Okay. Will leaves, the same trees their leaves change the same color every year, or do they kind of change colors?
They can change their colors. The colors can vary from year to year. That depends a lot on the species. That can also depend on the cultivar, but it also really depends on the weather and the water that is available to the tree before it starts to change its colors.
Okay. So as we're recording this, we're actually going to be going into Louisville Tree Week next week as well. So tell us a little about that, if you will.
Well, Louisville Tree Week is just really a celebration of the trees here in Louisville and the wonderful canopy that we have and the wonderful canopy that we're trying to maintain. We have several events going on next week, a couple of tree walks, as well as a tree giveaway at Joe Creason Park.
Okay, and how can do they just show up and get a tree?
Yeah, so next Thursday at Joe Creason Park, we're going to be giving away some trees. We have a couple species lined up: bur oak, chinkapin oak, redbud, spice bush, which is technically not a tree, but it's still native and we love it, and then the tulip poplar, our state tree.
Okay, very cool. So also, you've been doing something called a smart tree inventory.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is the first comprehensive street tree inventory that we've been able to initiate. We have Davey Resource Group initiating that project for us, and they're using a lot of really interesting technology to get this done for us. They're using lasers, they're using LiDAR, they're using 360-degree cameras to drive down our streets and visually map all of these trees for us. So then we can create a 3D model and look at health indicators. We can look at height, canopy volume, the diameter, and we can also assess these trees for risk and safety.
Okay. So is that risk and safety for the tree or for people or for both?
For both. For both. One of the main things we do is, in managing the trees in the right-of-way, is trying to find a balance between safety and the ecological benefits that these trees give us. So safety is always the top thing on our mind.
Okay. What is the most common tree here in Louisville? Is there one that's common mostly?
There's quite a few maples, but I see a lot of black walnuts. That's a very common tree. They grow very readily and they're very vigorous. They outcompete a lot of other things because they emit a chemical called jugalone in the soil, and it kills a lot of the other plants that might surround them.
Okay. Well, this is some great information from Patton, who is an arborist with the Department of Urban Forestry. Thank you very much for being here with us. If somebody wants more information on urban forestry, how can they find that?
They can go to our website, bestparksever.org, and they can get involved. We have, once again, those tree walks coming up next week, and we also have several giveaways and plantings, and then later in April we will have Tree Fest.
So stay tuned, we'll have more information on all of that. Thank you very much for joining us for Louisville Now. It's been Gary White for Metro TV.